Hi, I'm Heather Clancy. I am here at GreenBiz Forum, joined by Erik Fogelberg, the Senior Vice President of Commercial Sales and Storage Solutions for SolarCity. Thank you for joining us, Erik.
Thank you.
So, give a level set for the audience. What's your main focus?
So our core business on my side of the business is commercial. So Fortune 500, public sector, it could be schools, city, counties, from Hawaii to Puerto Rico. So everything in between.
Yeah, you're getting a lot more busy,
Yes,
right?
yes.
One of the sort of constant, complaints about solar systems is that they take so long to get installed, they're so complicated, there's not turnkey. That's one of the areas that you're really focused on. So I guess, first of all, why is it so important for you to keep speeding commercial solar installations? Why is that important?
Yeah, I mean, there's really two things. If you think about from any commercial customer, it's how do I not impact your business, right? They want to see savings quickly, and they don't want us to impact their business, so that means speed. The other component is you look at kind of the cost to install. Labor is a big part of it, so really getting down that speed and doing it safely is kind of mission critical, both from a customer experience as well as from our own cost. And all of that ties into a lower cost of power, which is really driving all the adoption here.
So you're saying one of the components of this is service. So let's talk about that first. So what changes are you making to services to get this going faster? I need training.
So it's really, ironically enough, so we bought a product called ZEP a couple of years ago for residential. Okay. So it's all about how do we get systems up faster, how do we change kind of the overall look, and we asked the same engineers, say, how would you apply this to commercial? And our challenge was, challenge for commercial is, we need to install it quickly, it needs to be safe, and often the other challenge on commercial is I have really a limited amount of roof space, right? You have size constraints and you have weight constraints. So take all of that into account and come up with a solution. So what they really did, if you think about it at the most basic level, if you put up a tent, you've got those poles that kind of snap together. They took those same concepts and put together a more of industrial scale. So now you've got systems that are snapping in place really quickly. So if you have a 10-day install, we're doing half the time. So you're getting the systems up in 2 or 3 days, which is pretty amazing.
So you're helping the manufacturers kind of rethink the racks and the way.
These are our manufacture ourselves.
Absolutely, okay.
So we used to, all of it was third party in the past. Now we've kind of taken best in class, the engineers build it ourselves.
So are you selling that to other installers? No.
As you can imagine, it's all proprietary.
Okay. The other, constant sort of challenge has been the permits, right? That's part of this. So what can you tell me about that on the commercial side? On
the commercial, it's actually, a lot of it's over the counter. So even in public sector, you have what they call DSA, which is
so it's a little easier.
Permit controls, and you get a pre-check system, so it can be over the counter. So it's not as problematic. It's more the interconnect with the utilities that can be problematic.
Okay. Now, storage, you have that word storage in your title.
Yes.
Why?
Storage it's one of those things we've all been trying to get to. Like, how do we change kind of the overall production demand or output of a solar system, right? You've got a kind of a standard peak, and how do you change that for commercial customers? If you look at your overall bill, 30% of your charge on demand side. So kWh is kind of what we supply on the PV side. But how do you address demand charge? Your utilities are getting smarter and smarter. They're taking that bill and moving it from kWh to demand. And demand is basically what's your peak for that month, and they're going to charge you a certain amount. So now what we're doing is looking at it. It doesn't work with every tariff, but you look at various tariffs and say, okay, when optimized, how do we use Tesla batteries, incorporate both PV and storage, and now impact both their kWh and demand charges? So it's a huge benefit on the customer side.
So as a customer, what am I investing in then? Is it a total solution that's solar plus energy storage?
Yeah, so we wrap it together like a PPA. It's truly another power purchase, so you don't, typically not out of pocket for anything. So we'll wrap a 20-year PPA for your PV, and then we wrap a 10-year power purchase agreement for demand. So basically the same concept of you buy your kWh via PPA, and we commit to reducing your demand charge by X% via this PPA for demand.
Okay, and as a journalist, I've seen an enormous explosion of PPA announcements or procurement goals sort of being announced. Why is it accelerating? Why is the sort of interest in solar procurement, why is it real now?
I mean, it comes back to the whole concept of how do we do things farther, smarter, faster, reduce a lower PPA rate, and it's because of that, right? They're really seeing PV as just a solar hedge.
Right.
So as they get more sophisticated and looking at storage, PV, integrate those together, they're going to look at their overall portfolio of energy and say, I may get a 1-year strip here, a multi-year strip here, and I use solar as kind of just a longer strip.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the fact that we're getting to the point that in more and more states, we're competitive with grid.
Call to action.
I would love to see more customers looking at this at a larger scale. We're starting to see it. If you look at some of the announcements of buying 130 megawatts worth of power, looking at kind of a holistic, across all of their sites in the U.S. and figure out how to do that rollout. And often the discussion is, do you want to have more megawatts or more savings? If it's more savings, you're going to optimize by site. If it's more megawatts, we can blend those across sites and get maximum output for you. So it really depends on what the customer is looking for. But I love to see them take a much broader and bigger approach.
Well, thanks for sharing with us today.
Certainly.
Thanks for joining us in Studio C.